Hi everybody, this is a PowerPoint to accompany our chapter on the hand found in Hugh Williams' book, Anatomies. A note before you begin. I know you can read this, but I would like to read this with you. This PowerPoint should help you through the chapter, but it is in no way meant to replace reading it. I use this PowerPoint to highlight some key ideas and bring visuals to our chapter. But remember, all assignments and exams and quizzes are based on reading the entire chapter and not simply this PowerPoint. Here's another wording slide, but it has the objectives. These are the things I'd like you to be able to do at the end of this presentation. If you would take a few minutes and jot these down in your notes, it will help you as you go back and review. The first thing I want you to do, make a fist.
Why should you make a fist? Because you can. Did you know humans are the only animal who can make a fist? Don't say monkeys. Monkeys fold like this. Their hands are too long to make a fist.
In addition to the thumb, scholars now believe the fist has an evolutionary advantage just as important as the thumb. By being able to make a fist, we can create a reinforced weapon. These hands look a little less violent. Let's take a look at them. Each of these images is called a manicule. Manicules are used to indicate direction. They started out letting people know to turn the page of a book, but then became signs indicating which direction one needs to go to get to, say, the hospital or the town center. These signs, these manicules, seem obvious, but less obvious to us is that pointing indicates a shared language. In all likelihood, we pointed before we spoke, but whether we did or not, pointing still suggests that people share enough of a language to know what the other person is indicating. I'm pointing up, perhaps I mean the sky, or that tiger that's just about to jump on you. If I'm pointing to the dog, we're actually sophisticated enough to know, by context, if I'm pointing to the dog's nose, the dog's tail, or the dog that's at the head of the pack of dogs that's about to come and eat us. If we didn't share a similar understanding of our world, pointing would be, I am going to make that pun, pointless. Pause the presentation and answer this question. What's the difference in each image? Before you pause the presentation, let me explain why I want you to do that. If I simply narrate this PowerPoint to you, you don't get a chance to think about what you see. By pausing the presentation, you develop your own answers and your own ability to think about an image as you see it, so that when you see an image on a test, you can have your own ideas to bring to it and then to compare it to mine. So, go ahead, pause the image. Okay. You might see different hair, but the shape of the head is similar. The images are made of different materials, but each figure has benevolent eyes, similar clothing, and the Buddha earlobes. What's really different in each image are the hands. When looking at a statue of Buddha, the hand gestures, or the mudras, M-U-D-R-A-S, can communicate a great deal. The Buddha, on the upper left, is offering a gesture of blessing with one hand and a gesture of welcome with the other. The smaller Buddha at the bottom is showing a gesture of prayer, and the Buddha in the yellow clothing has hands showing a meditative and relaxed pose, and a pose of concentration. Notice the differences between what a mudra and a manicure communicate. One indicates direction, the other indicates various emotions or various messages to a viewer. Now we're going to look at some famous hands in the arts. As we look at these hands, let me ask you to make each of the gestures we see each time. So you'll have to pause the presentation to do that. But by making these gestures, you will begin to understand the differences in the way an artist has to convey what the hands communicate. Okay, the first set of hands. Do you recognize them? If you look at the Mona Lisa's hands, do you notice anything missing? It's true, she's not wearing a ring, but I was thinking more along the lines of wrinkles, age spots, calluses, or other markings of age or hard labor. Notice her hands are fleshy. Mona Lisa's hands suggest wealth, youth, and they also suggest a relaxed posture here. There does not seem to be a lot of tension in her hands. Pause the presentation to answer these questions. This is an image of Nijinsky, a ballet dancer quite famous in his day. This is a role he played in 1912. He played a satyr or a faun, a creature who is half man and half bird. A faun is, well, a horny creature who wants to be with the ladies, but young women reject satyrs because they are not human. As a presentation, and notice what else about Nijinsky suggests that he is half man, half bird. Indeed, he has spots, horns, a tail, and his feet suggest hooves rather than feet because of the angle at which he holds them. So what about him suggests he is a man? His face, absolutely. His hands, too. Remember, we talked about the fist being an evolutionary advantage. But remember, too, it's our thumbs that distinguish us from every other animal on Earth. Nijinsky holds his four fingers together to suggest the front hooves, but look again at his hands and note the thumbs. In his portrayal of the faun, Nijinsky uses his thumbs to scream to the young women and to the audience, I am human. Do you recognize these hands? Do you see any differences between them? If you wrote down the differences in your notes, you probably have that one hand is more muscular and has far more tension in it than the other. Think again about the genius of Michelangelo. He has to paint God giving life to Adam, but how would one portray that? Michelangelo doesn't. He chooses the moment just before God gives Adam life, so that he need not worry about what that divine spark might look like. If you look at Adam's hand and at his procreative region, you will see that both are lifeless. Michelangelo uses both the hand and the procreative region, as well as Adam's posture, to suggest that he has no life and cannot have it until God offers it. Notice that God's hand is more muscular, it is higher than Adam's hand, and it is engaged in moving towards action. Adam's hand is waiting for action. Make the same gesture that God makes in this image and know how much strength it takes to do that. Now hold your hand like Adam's and feel the differences. Here then, the hands communicate position in the hierarchy, that is above man, right? They communicate power, and they communicate lifelessness. These are very different ideas than those communicated by the Mona Lisa's hands. Do you recognize these hands? Even if you don't, what does the image suggest is happening just based on these hands? If you said a marriage, guess what? You were right. Notice here that the hands symbolize several things. Belonging, openness. Some might read the wife's hands and the husband's hand as a gesture of submission. Others simply say unity. The hands do look relaxed together, so it does not suggest the wife is being taken by force. Notice one hand of the wife is in the new husband's hand, and the other is holding up her dress. Understand, this gesture is symbolic of another act of unity. Right, you got it, sex, right? However, understand we were talking about future sex. The woman is not pregnant, because we certainly wouldn't show the results of premarital sex in a marriage portrait in 1434. The holding up of the dress is symbolic, and it anticipates and wishes the couple a life blessed with children. Remember how we were able to link Adam's hand to his procreative region and show that they were communicating the same thing. While the wife does not actually show us her procreative region, she shows us the results of engaging that procreative region. So this image suggests a similar idea to Michelangelo's Adam. The hands show unity, and they show present unity in the marriage and future unity in the conjugal act. Whose hand is this? Look at David's hand. You can see veins, and remember this is sculpted in marble. His hand, like his body, shows pent-up energy. If you look at his hand, you can almost see him throwing the rock up and down in it just before he kills Goliath. He's ready to go into battle, but he's choosing the right moment to do so. David's body also suggests pent-up energy, and if you notice, his procreative region is far more alive and energized than Adam's. Still, even the hand alone, as in our other images, communicates this idea of vibrancy and energy. Look at the material from which this hand is sculpted, in marble. Notice how absolutely gently this marble hand shows care and tenderness. His hand is not placed here heavily or violently. Do you recognize it? It is a less known hand, perhaps, to some. Again, you might think that a hand sculpted in marble could only show dead weight or wild action, but Rodin and Michelangelo have shown how restrained a hand can be, even in marble, while communicating both energy and gentleness. To get a literal feel for the hand in Rodin's image, imitate the pose of the male hand. It should be touching something so lightly that would suggest a softness, and in this case, possibly a great depth of feeling. Do these hands seem to show any of the same emotions seen in the other hands we've looked at? If so, to which hands can you compare these? And if not, what do these hands reveal, and how do they communicate emotion? These hands express sheer agony. They are not relaxed, but stressed by severe pain. Again, imitate the pose, minus the nose, and note just how much energy it takes to hold the hand in such an unnatural position and not to be able to relax it. That would be awful. The hands are extended, but not in peace. They are not relaxed. The fingers are trying to bend, but are unable to do so. This time, though, the hands are in contrast to the calmness of the rest of Jesus' body. Incidentally, if you're wondering what those black marks are on Jesus' arms, this shows Jesus taking on the bubonic plague that was sweeping Europe once again. Originally, this image was hung in a hospital, and just as Jesus was to take away our sins, this image shows him taking away our other ills as well. This is a quick overview of hands. Remember, Alderson Williams gives us other information about hands in our chapter. But let's do a quick review here. A few review questions. You might want to review the PowerPoint or reread the chapter to answer some of these. Is the image to the right a manicule or a mudra? How do you know which it is? Okay. Question 2. Which artist created the hands in A and in B? Question 3. Using the images A and B from question 2, what is the difference between what the hands communicate? How do the hands themselves show those differences in message? Question 4. Why does Nijinsky hold his hands this way to portray the form? Question 5. What else could he have done with his hands that only humans can do? Question 6. Review all of the hands in his PowerPoint. Skipping the images of the Buddha and the manicure, which hands do you feel communicate the most information? Explain your thoughts, noting why you feel your choice communicates the most information, and also explain why you feel the others communicate less information. Let's go back. Mudra or manicure, that is just a question of you going back and revisiting the PowerPoint and also looking at what Alderson Williams causes. Which artist created the hands of A and B? That's also a question going back and noting each artist at each pair of hands. I'll let you match those up. What is the difference between what the hands communicate? Well, we've talked about some of that. You might have some ideas of your own to add that make sense. How do hands themselves show the differences in message? You want to talk about whether you see pain, you want to talk about angles, positions of the hands, those kinds of things that indicate whether something is relaxed, whether something is in motion. Why does Nijinsky hold his hands this way to portray the form? It's the thumbs. I am human. What else could he have done with his hands that all humans could do? Remember, not just the thumb, but also the fist. There's this evolutionary advantage, and humans are the only ones who can make it. Question 6 might look like simply an opinion question, but it's not. It's actually a compare and contrast question. So not only do you have to make your choice and explain your choice, reasonably using not just your feelings, but information from the chapter and the PowerPoint, but you also have to go back and talk about why the other hands don't measure up. So I said, review question, of course you can go back and look at each of the hands we have to. If you need to know where some of the images came from, here we go.